Hello, and welcome to this video. I was supposed to show you more queries of SQL because we are alternating between the theory and practical aspects of Postgres. But I learned something new in say about 2 months or 3 months ago in between the videos. So I remember I did videos in September and now it is number. So in between I came across this new piece of information. So what we are going to revisit is how to scale Postgres. I remember that when I did the introductory video on PostgreSQL, I said that you can use Citus to scale Postgres horizontally. But there is something else which has come to my attention, and that is called PgDog. So PgDog is a different kind of solution in terms of architecture. So Citus, as I remember telling, it is a Postgres extension. So you build the extension, it runs right within the uh, Postgres instance. And I have not discussed the architecture of this. So let's see if we can see the architecture. I don't remember if it has, yeah, here it is. So the diagram was there, if I remember. It seems there is something wrong with this. There is cap, but there is no diagram. The diagram should be over here. So if I say reload image, no. So let's see if we can reload image. No, not working. Okay, so let me reload the page. Okay, there seems to be some intermittent network issue. Fine, you can go ahead and study the architecture of Citus, how it implements distributed tables and all that, how it distributes data, so how it creates shards and co-location and parallelism and query execution and all that. You can see this. So essentially there is a coordinator node and then there are data nodes. The problem is you can't scale coordinator node horizontally. Okay, you read this. Every cluster has one spatial node. That's where the problem is. So there is again single point of not failure. I would call it single point of choking. Okay, Spock, not single point of contact, single point of choking. So you are choked because of this. That is one problem. Now PgDog is a similar solution, but it is not really built into the database. It is outside the database. Okay, so as it says, shard Postgres without extensions. It specifically is targeting Citus data. You can see some diagrams, how you route and how you move data, and speed of NoSQL with SQL. There share nothing architecture and scalable coordinator and all that are there. So PgDog seems to me is a better solution. And the license of both are GLGPL. Okay, if you look at the license, it is GLPL, GAPL. Okay, so this is GNU Affairs General Public License, and this is also GNU Affairs General Public License. Now, why PgDog is better? Because of several reasons. A lot of that is discussed in this post. It was done on March 20th, 25. Now it is numbered. So if you read this statement is no longer true. It has advanced a lot. So essentially your problem is that Postgres spins the process. Okay. So what happens is if you read this, in practice, Postgres concurrency is much lower than 5,000. The recommendation I have seen in the wild is to limit your connections to 2 per CPU core. So Even on the biggest of machines available from AWS, you can probably have up to 384. Even if you have 256 core, there is 512 connections. And the second thing is process versus thread. So it talks about Tokyo, and for IO bound tasks and all that, PgDog can scale up to hundreds of thousands of connections. So instead of having 512 connections, you can have 100,000 connections. And it is based on Tokyo, so the IO is async. The processing happens in threads in an async manner. So what happens is that since database requires a lot of IO to fetch the data, the scaling is very high. Okay. What I mean by scaling is you can have lots of application logic, that is the API layer, or if you have any kind of server which interacts with Postgres, then a lot of these servers, a lot of API servers, or by API I mean REST or GraphQL or gRPC, these for example, if you can have a monolithic or microservice architecture, so these can make a lot of connections to Postgres. So the same server can effectively serve a lot more clients. Now, what is the result of this? Okay, the result is PgDog can handle OLTP workload. So you can have lots of transactions going on. Okay, but if OLAP is your focus, then Postgres will saturate your disk before process-based concurrency becomes an issue. So analytics wise, Citus is okay. But if you are doing transactions, a lot of transactions, then it's not going to work. Citus will have a choke point in terms of coordinator. So the excuse me. So if you read this blog, it becomes very clear. So performance wise, both should not be your choking point. You can see it is primarily done in Rust. It is primarily done in C. You can see it is primarily done in C and PLPG So essentially performance will be similar. I would prefer PgDog simply because Citus data is now owned by Microsoft, and personally, being a GNU fanatic, I am not a fan of Microsoft. So if you fall in the other camp, we can probably use Citus if you have OLAP workload. And if you need OLTP, like you want to scale SQL just like NoSQL database, prefer PgDog. So why I raise this question is very few people are aware of PgDog. The classical, excuse me, the classical techniques of scaling Postgres, when I talk with people, is they say we will partition the table, we will shard the table, and all that. The problem is that certain databases cannot be partitioned or sharded manually. That is, a classic example would be Stack Overflow database. You just can't shard it just like that. If you follow the same schema, you can't just partition like that. So in such databases, your PgDog will work very nicely. So I'll recommend that if you want to scale Postgres, PgDog should suit your needs. And let's look at releases. So a release has been made last week, so you can go through the list of releases and what changed and what new supports are coming. I don't know if a lot of features are there, because personally I have not used PgDog yet, but I expect that in very very little amount of time, it should become stable and a lot more features. You can see these are almost a weekly release or bi-weekly release is going on with new features. So it should become usable very soon. I don't know if it is usable. Does it say that it is not usable for production support? Okay, it does not say. All right. So try to use it. Once we are done with the theory part and the SQL querying, I will show the example by using Docker. I'll just spin up multiple nodes of PgDog and Postgres, and I'll see how they work together. So with this, I'll conclude the video. I hope that you have found this video useful and informative. So if you are preparing for an interview, it's a very good point. If your Postgres is your favorite database, in an interview you can say we can scale Postgres by PgDog. All right. So no need to use NoSQL. So with this, I'll end the video. And if you have found this video useful and informative, please hit the subscribe button and share. And if you have questions, please use the comment box and don't forget to like the video. So why I say to share, like or subscribe is because it takes a lot of effort to make these videos. And if videos become more popular, it helps me, it motivates me. And the YouTube algorithm works like that, that the more the number of share, the more the like. So that's how the video is spread. So thanks a lot for watching. Happy programming.